State of the garden, February 20th, 2021. So this is growing season. The California golden poppies, which actually are a volunteer, are doing really, really nicely. They've expanded their grip everywhere there is not actually mulch. So this is actually a good thing not to have mulch in certain areas. We have gone ahead. I think we had a visitor there apparently. We've cleaned out the vegetable beds to go ahead, and I was sick over the winter, which ended up actually being a good thing because I didn't plant most of the winter crops. That is escaped golden poppy, which I'd left for amusement's sake, and leftover spinach, which I've left because I like spinach. It actually regrew from last winter. But the rest of it, I've dug up all the tomatoes and cucumbers and herbs and everything from the summer so that we can put more compost and soil in, because we're getting a little bit low, and it's been a few years now. When I say we, that's me and California Native Scapes, because I couldn't do anything without them. They are the main people of my garden here, so I just enjoy my garden. But yes, we're getting ready for spring planting. That will be done soon. The fescue actually needs mowing because it's gotten a little scraggly over time. Everything else is growing really, really well. We're doing well, as expected for most things. The California freesia is growing back, and sadly, one of the things that is actually growing is evil. We have evil weeds. January and February are the evil time because it is growing season for everything, and growing season for everything also means growing season for the stuff we do not want. It's weeding time. No, weeds everywhere. Oh, they're so hard to get rid of. And you kind of understand why people reduce themselves to pesticides sometimes. This is a pretty much pesticide-free garden zone, so no pesticides here, but it involves a lot more handwork over and over and over again. Oh my gosh, so many weeds. And my wonderful rock pile, which is so great for lizards during the summertime, becomes evil in the springtime because it hides places where the damn oxalis can grow. Okay, did use of that word just put this into PG-13? Hopefully everybody knows that word by now. Sorry, I will try and keep it weed-free from this point on. I want more yerba buena. I love my yerba buena. Yerba buena is awesome. I actually waited a little bit too long, but oranges, just because they turn orange does not mean they're ripe. You actually have to wait almost a year after the first oranges turn orange so that they actually have their full juicy power. So I leave oranges on for a very long time. They usually start growing the next one by the time the first one is ready for plucking. So I'm enjoying coming out and grabbing a few oranges every so often. It's normally time for the roses to start blooming, but they're a little bit late this year. Might be because of the extra shade. Or I don't know. Plants are different. We do have hummingbird feeders refilled because it is actually, hummingbirds are going ahead and nesting early. They went ahead and nested early last year as well, but you can see there's not all that much blooming. There's a few things blooming here and there. I did that in the last video, but right now there's not quite enough for all the nesting birds, so I have put out the hummingbird feeders Again, well, actually I never stop because the hummingbirds don't go away, but I've made sure they're refilled and ready for all these nesting hummingbirds. One thing I did do though was this summer we started off with a, we're on the move. Boom. I started off with a bird feeder and I had to take it down because of the pine siskins. Pine siskins have migrated in, and the pine siskins are infected with salmonella for the most part. Not all of them, but they congregate, they get salmonella, the bird feeders encourage that. So, and you do not want a highly contagious salmonella in your flocks. That you're putting these up for the benefit of the birds, and you don't really want them to get sick. So I took down the bird feeders. I had been going ahead and keeping them religiously clean with the regular cleaning and bleaching and making sure that the ground was clear around it and everything. But because there was actually a pine siskin, a poofy little pine siskin, I said, yep, all right, time for the feeders to come down. We will not be encouraging this. This is a native California garden for the most part, and there should be enough for the birds to survive on naturally without any problems. Hummingbirds are different. I was told by a volunteer at the Wildlife Rescue Center that hummingbirds do not usually share the territories with the other birds like the pine siskins, so I can leave the hummingbird feeders up. So they are enjoying food for their breeding season, but the bird feeders are not going back up until March or later to try and keep it safe for everybody. Yes, breeding season with the hummers. I like the hummers. I actually saw less of the hummers when I had the bird seeder up with all the others. I had a ton of other birds, but I saw a little bit less of the hummers, so make a choice between the hummers and all the rest of the birds. Or just different territories for the most part. I put the bird seeder up in the front yard, and the hummers is up in the backyard. I used to have a hummingbird feeder in the front yard as well, but I might just keep it segregated for their sake. All right. And this is state of the garden for this point, with more evil weeding. Oh, these things don't go away. Every year we pull them out down to the roots, and every year they come back again. Although realistically, this is actually better than it was before we redid this yard. This whole area used to be it, because they're pretty little flowers. Oxalis, by the way, is a sorrel, and there is a redwood sorrel that's native to California around here. The oxalis we grow in the backyards is not redwood sorrel. Do not think it's redwood sorrel. The oxalis that grows in the backyard has little pretty yellow flowers, which when you've got nothing but weeds in the backyard is tempting to let grow. Do not let it grow, even though that they're pretty, because they are a major pest and a major weed, and they choke everything out around them, and they just keep coming back. You leave even the littlest bit of a root and they will come back. So go ahead and get rid of the oxalis everywhere. And as I was saying, it is better. There used to be oxalis here everywhere, and now there's just oxalis in the cracks. So the areas where it's a little bit harder to get the full root systems, and the root systems hide a little bit more. They like to hide near where the plants are growing as well. Really happy about the hummingbird sage. I love my hummingbird sage. It's great to see this expanding. So I am delighted with my hummingbird sage. New coffee berry back there. Hopefully it does well in the shade. The elderberry is doing quite well. elderberry actually got trimmed down this year by PG&E because it was growing into the power lines. But it was the straight poles that got trimmed. You are not a hummingbird. Hey, you are not a hummingbird. Oh, come on. Jeez. As long as they don't stay. Man. Birds. Birds, and more birds. Okay. There are probably feeders that would discourage this even more, but these particular type of feeders I like because they are cheap and plentiful, and if there's any issues with one, I can just throw it away and buy a new one, and they're really easy to clean. A lot of the more expensive ones are very difficult to unscrew and get yourself in there with a brush and clean. These particular feeders are very easy to get in there with a bottle brush and open up the top and the bottom, and to go ahead and scrub it out completely, which it's very necessary to keep your hummingbird feeders clean. And see, entertainment for the ages. Anyhow, when the PG&E was chopping down the elderberry bush limb, because it was one of those nice straightaways, they asked me, and then they went ahead and actually, instead of trimming it down by where the power line was, they actually came down and trimmed it off a little bit closer and then gave me the pole so that I can do something useful with it, because it's such a nice straight piece of wood. I really appreciated it. That's really cool. I will be able to do something crafty with that, hopefully. And now contemplating it for the other straightaways, although the others aren't quite as thick and nice. But elderberry doing well, everything else doing well, and okay, that is state of the garden. Bye.